Hello everyone. Today we're here at the most expensive and what many think is the best buffet in Las Vegas. To answer the question on everyone's mind, is it worth the $100 price of admission? Thanks for joining us. It's Sunday, and that means Anthony's is having their all-you-can-eat lobster and prime rib brunch buffet. They're just 15 minutes from the heart of the Strip at the M Hotel and Resort. Anthony's Prime Restaurant is an upscale, modern-day, old-fashioned steakhouse. Sundays from 11 to 1:30, they serve their lobster and prime rib brunch buffet. And while, wow, lobster and prime rib, the real star of this buffet is the beef Wellington. I remember the first time I saw a beef Wellington on a menu. I was 8 years old, I was with my parents, and we were at Mr. A's in San Diego. My first love was food, and so my parents used to take me out to some of the best restaurants. When back at home, my mother would challenge me to identify the flavors we had the previous night, and I would try to make the things I'd eaten. When I was 13, my mom bought me a copy of Julia Child's The French Chef, and it became my inspiration. I didn't know what to make of the Wellington that first time as an 8-year-old boy, but one taste, and my world was never the same. It was one of many food-related, life-changing moments to come. I still remember to this day how my senses came to life, and I couldn't wait to order Wellington again. When I heard this buffet at Anthony's had beef Wellington, I had to come here. So I immediately called Anthony's Prime, but was told there was a 6-month waiting list. No, I needed my Wellington fixed now. Ever the perseverant type, I called the next Sunday morning very early and got a table recently canceled. So keep that in mind if you want to give this place a try, but aren't into 6-month waiting lists. I've also learned a select few get in the day of by simply showing up and seeing if there's an opening. Further proof of Woody Allen's famous quip, 80% of success is just showing up. They have a lot of breakfast items, so we started in that vein with this plate of French toast, sausage, bacon, and a croissant. The French toast is good, but honestly, French toast is a difficult item at a buffet. In just a few minutes, warming trays can drain the life out of French toast and turn them into a shell of their once former self. And that's what happened here. But the flavor of these is very good. Of course, loaves of cinnamon, room temperature butter, and warm maple syrup help to revive them. And they use great bread. It definitely makes the toast. The sausage is particularly good, a rich pork breakfast type sausage with hits of maple, sage, and white and black pepper that give it a mild hint of spice. The bacon, well, not as good as a sausage. It's just all right. Certainly I've had much worse, but I've also had a lot better. Again, a little warm maple syrup really improved the bacon. The croissant, sadly, was a little stale. I love a good flaky croissant, but this one was just mediocre. I happened to notice these yogurt parfaits on the way back to the table. Decided to give it a try. Wow, unexpectedly delicious. Light and refreshing, this is kind of where breakfast meets dessert. Homemade granola is a nice touch, along with the sweet fresh fruits and the wonderfully tart raspberry coulis. I ended up getting 2 more of these before the day was through. For all those interested, they have build-your-own omelets. However, I've never been an omelet fan, but for those of you who are, they look positively wonderful. Okay, time to shift gears away from breakfast foods and off to the seafood dishes. This clam chowder would make even the crustiest salty New Englander shed a tear. So many clams, and not just your average clams, but huge chunks of clams, potato, and perfectly seasoned creamy broth. Rich and just sensational. This is the kind of clam chowder you want to curl up with alongside a good loaf of sourdough and eat on the beautiful San Francisco Bay while watching the world go by. There's so many things I could say about Lobster Bisque. I could write a book. But don't worry, I'm not going to recite it to you now. Let's just say I was famous in our restaurant for my bisque. And let me tell you, this is a great bisque. Look at the beautiful color the lobster imparts. You can tell there's a lot of lobster meat that's been cooked down to make a condensed and powerful lobster flavor. It is so rich. It packs an impressive lobster punch. I'm a sucker for a rich, creamy soup of any kind, and lobster bisque tops my list. You're gonna love this bisque. Oh my, look at the size of these shrimp. They're massive. I have to say that these might be the best shrimp I've tasted at any buffet. They remind me of the prawns my mother would make back in the 70s. She'd go to the local overpriced market and get these huge prawns, and then cook them with a perfect blend of spices along with Old Bay seasoning, a quintessential blend found in every kitchen back then. Though I'm not sure of Anthony's recipe, they taste remarkably like my mother's. They reminded me of my childhood, and that's about the biggest compliment any prawn could get. These are worth the price of the buffet alone. They are so good. As with the prawns, these Jonah crab claws are huge. They crack them so they're easier to get to the meat. Very fresh, sweet, and briny like the ocean. Even though pre-cracked, they still make a mess and put up a good fight. But they're definitely worth the effort, and they make this buffet a bargain just for the sheer quality. The crab legs are also fantastic. In addition, they're a great deal since the restaurant down the way in the hotel offers them at happy hour 2 pounds for $49.99. Here, you can eat all of them you like. If you have hands of steel and don't mind cracking them since they're not pre-cracked for your convenience. But nevertheless, the crab here is fresh and delicious. This crab is as good as any of the top tier buffets in town. I know, salad at an all-you-can-eat lobster and prime rib buffet, what are you, crazy? Well, I do love salad, and it makes a nice break from all the seafood. This cold plate salad with blue cheese dressing, very nice. Good dressing, and I love the frangé lettuce, yum. And wow, this Amante black lemon Gouda cheese, it's a cheese lover's dream come true. And the fig jam, perfect pairing with it. I was told you can get this at Sprouts or Trader Joe's. However, when I was at my local Trader Joe's and asked about it, they looked at me as though I was from another planet. So, not sure about where you could get this locally. The country pate, simply marvelous. Rich, creamy, and this caprese salad, very fresh. And I love that they have things to cleanse your palate from all these rich, fatty, wonderful flavors. On this next plate, we have gnocchi, ravioli, and Airline Chicken. The gnocchi is something you have to try. It's perfectly made, great texture, and the perfect ratio of potato to flour, and just the right amount of egg to bind it all together. The pomodoro sauce is nice and tomatoey, still retains its flavor and texture, even though it's been sitting in a tray. The butternut squash ravioli, also a great dish. Well-made pasta stuffed with a fabulous filling, al dente and well-seasoned sauce, and a must-try on this buffet. The Airline Chicken. When I first heard this name, I thought to myself, what a horrible name, since airlines are notorious for serving borderline inedible food. However, this must be the chicken formerly served in the Concorde because it's stupendous, and I highly recommend it. The sauce is a hearty brown demi-glace, and it has tomatoes and peppercorns. It's a very rich and satisfying dish. I also have to give kudos to Anthony's for making such perfectly cooked, wonderful asparagus. They went so well with this fabulous béarnaise sauce. Okay, time to hop back and finish off the seafood section. This salmon is really excellently prepared with a rich, creamy sauce underneath and sautéed, almost charred artichokes in a buttery rich garlic sauce. I don't know how well it will hold up on the line in the holding trays, but at this moment, it's absolutely wonderful. This tastes like a wild-caught salmon, and since this is a top-notch place, I'm sure it probably is. Well, time for one of the stars of this buffet. The lobster is definitely the most popular girl at this party. The tray is constantly being emptied and refilled. If you're looking for the best lobster in town, well then, you found it. I'd put Anthony's thorax and claws above the rest. The tails are so flavorful, sweet, fresh. If you're a lobster lover as I am, just for these alone, it's well worth the price of admission. Not only are these tails so fresh that they practically jump off the plate, but they're so well seasoned, they'll have your umami taste buds doing backflips. That's how darn good they are. Dip them in hot drawn butter, and they're even more delicious. I'd have to say that these are perhaps the best lobster tails I've ever tasted, and I've had many a good lobster in my day. Altogether, so far I think we've eaten about 4 lobster tails. The people on either side of us have already devoured plate after plate of them, so they're certainly getting their money's worth. These are, once again, the best and sweetest lobster tails at any buffet I've ever eaten. How can you go wrong when you mix perfect seasoning with superior top quality lobster? Anyway, we're totally enjoying the food so far. Okay, time to hit up the other shining star of this buffet, the meat station. Look at this station. The meats are impeccably displayed, and they're a work of art. The way the carver has laid them out reminds me of a scene from a medieval painting of a sumptuous, gluttonous primal feast, each more irresistible than the next. First is a rack of lamb, beautifully Frenched. They look exquisite, with a wonderfully delicate yet firm crust. You can smell the garlic and herbs as you approach the table, calling to you like a siren song. Beside the lamb is, what in my book, is the best meat dish on the planet, beef Wellington. While we're crazed about prime rib at these all-you-can-eat buffets, Wellington has long been both our favorite meat dish of all time. The trick to Wellington is to get the outside pastry perfectly flaky, while the beef inside is perfectly rare to medium rare. Wow, look at that outer shell. The pastry looks incredible. Hope the filet within is red and rare. Next, we have a huge slab of prime rib. I hope it's rare to medium rare as well beneath that fat cap. I see one other item today which is new, paella. I've never been overly crazy about paella, but now it's making my mouth water with an intoxicating aroma. I think the usual issue with paella is it's one of those foods that so many think they know how to make well, when in reality they don't. I've been to countless homes of those from south of the border who swear by their paella, yet it's always a disappointment. It's gotten to the point when I hear paella is on the menu at a friend's house, I get a little worried. Again, it's one of those dishes with difficult timing due to the diverse ingredients which all cook at different rates. Rarely can the home cook get that right. So curious to see how Anthony's has done with it. And one other thing I'd like to add about these Vegas all-you-can-eat buffet carving stations. Remember, you're in charge, and don't be afraid to ask for things the way you like them. At Anthony's Prime, the service is sensational and very accommodating. They'll bring out a fresh slab if you want it less cooked, or cut the piece as thickly as you want. You have only to ask. Now, let's dive deeper and discuss each item on its own. We're going to start with the lamb, as they're small and make a nice warm-up. This lamb reminds you of the type of lamb you'd find back in the upper echelon of dining establishments back in the 70s and 80s. Perfectly trimmed or Frenched. It's a real throwback to a bygone era. You can taste a mild, minty flavor they use in the marinade. The crust is delightful. Garlic, parsley, rosemary, along with fine breadcrumbs. It offers the perfect foil to the rich, juicy, fatty interior. And let's not forget about the quality of this wonderful lamb. My guess is it hails from New Zealand. There isn't any shred of gaminess, and there's always something so enjoyable about gnawing the juicy meat from the bone. What is it about holding a bone and tearing at it, rotating it in every conceivable angle to get every precious morsel of meat? Such an enjoyable primal feeling. Along with the lamb we had at Galpa Gaucho, these are perhaps the two finest lamb dishes at the moment in Vegas. I have to say, this prime rib is as good, if not better, than any we've had in Vegas. So well seasoned. The end cap is a beautiful combination of herbs, cracked black peppercorns, and sea salt. I love it when the crust is thick and almost overpowering, so I can slice off a small section and have it with each bite of the inner portion of the roast. The beef is of the very highest quality, the kind you'd expect to get at a restaurant with the word prime in its name. Here at Anthony's, they'll give you as large a piece as you wish, so don't feel uncomfortable to ask for what you want. The meat is wonderfully tender. You barely need a knife. The fat is sumptuous, and also something I love to slice off and have with the inner roast. Wow, this meat melts in your mouth, and the terrific umami taste makes it one of the very best at any Vegas buffet. This is a prime rib lover's dream come true. I am in heaven. Well, after all that fatty meat, it's time to lighten the meal with this paella. Despite what I said before about having had so much less than spectacular paella, I've had a few wonderful renditions as well in my day. And wow, this is right up there with the best of them. Just the perfect balance of saffron and stock. Look at this beautiful golden color. I love the bits of sausage and smoky meats. The seafood in here is remarkably fresh and not overcooked. Though the lamb and prime rib were spectacular, this wonderful paella is giving them a run for their money. If there were a restaurant that only served a paella as good as this one, there'd be a line around the block waiting to get in every day. Well done, Anthony's. This is a brilliant addition to your lineup. Okay, now for what I consider the belle of the ball, beef Wellington. As I already mentioned, the trick to Wellington is to get the outside pastry perfectly flaky, while the beef, hidden to the outside world while being cooked, never goes past rare to medium rare. Cutting into a Wellington is always a tense moment. This is the point where you see if you've produced a masterpiece or a belly flop. The anticipation is palpable. The chef's reputation is really on the line, and for me, it's the make or break moment for this buffet's $100 price tag. Wow, he nailed it. Look at that perfect, deep, pinkish, reddish interior. If you looked up perfect Wellington in the Pictionary, this is exactly how it would look. I can't imagine it being any more perfect. One area that is sometimes overlooked is the thin layer of duxelle between the meat and the pastry. It's usually mushroom and tarragon, sautéed in butter till they form a silky yet slightly chunky sort of paste. This duxelle is perfectly seasoned and delicious. The flavors of this Wellington are textbook. And the béarnaise sauce? Well, I must tell you that the first time I tasted béarnaise sauce, I was 8 years old. I wanted to put it on everything. It was so delicious. It was like an out-of-body experience for me. This béarnaise sauce did not disappoint. The tarragon and vinegar were just in there enough to make this buttery sauce one of the best I've ever had. Sometimes béarnaise can be really out of balance, but here in Anthony's, it's stunning. And finally, the puff pastry. Well, trust me, it's truly magnificent. Light, layered, delicate pastry dough that lovingly envelops the superb filet and that fantastic duxelle. Perfectly seasoned and a beautiful golden brown hue. I honestly couldn't imagine this dish prepared any better, and they deserve a lot of credit to be able to serve a dish of this quality in a buffet setting. The difficulty and expense to pull this off is why you don't see Wellington at any other Vegas buffets. Okay, as a meat lover and Wellington freak, I'm now completely satisfied that my $100 was well spent. Everything else at this point is just bonus. Well, as much as I'm loving this Wellington, it's time to move on to what for me is always my favorite part of any buffet, getting to sample all the desserts. And Anthony's desserts look spectacular. It's like the land of make-believe. It's a virtual who's who of sugary delights. These are hands down some of the best desserts I've tasted at any buffet here in Vegas. While most places on the Strip lately seem to have fallen off with the quality of desserts, with the exception of the Wicked Spoon, Anthony's pastry chefs have really stepped it up. I've been here many times, and the desserts just get better and better. I know we're both tough customers to please, particularly with desserts. We joke that we must sound like the two grumpy old men in the Muppets, up in the balcony, criticizing everything. But at least you know you can trust us. We always tell you what's on our mind, and feel that it's better to be a critic rather than a cheerleader. Where does one begin to describe these sugary treats? Well, let's start with this little white and dark chocolate mousse tart. It's wonderful. I love the delicate supporting pastry, and this silky smooth creamy layer on top is a magical little taste of heaven. Within this little ramekin is a fantastic creme brulee, creamy custardy goodness with a little sheet of bruleed sugar that cracks like shards of sweet sugary glass as you break into it. If you don't have that much room and can't eat everything on the dessert line, make sure to at least try this creme brulee. Pineapple upside down cake. Oh my, one of my mom's favorite desserts, and now I see why. As I get older, I seem to become more like my parents because I love these types of desserts as well. As a kid, I strongly favored mostly things with dark chocolate, but now I see why these fruit-type desserts are delicious. It's rich, buttery, and oddly reminiscent of caramel. I just loved it. This is carrot cake. Hear it roar. It's moist, sweet, and with a delightfully tangy icing. No nuts were harmed in the making of this cake, and that makes me very happy. Look at this little chocolate decoration. It's a work of art. They put a lot of love into these desserts. They're all remarkable. If not careful, carrot cake can become more of a spice cake when the carrot really should be the hero. Here, they got it just right. I love this carrot cake. Oddly, I think this little Oreo chocolate mousse cake is my favorite. The dark chocolate mousse is so decadent. I'm not usually a huge fan of Oreos, but I absolutely adore this little torte. It's a must try. You're gonna love this, I promise you. This cheesecake, just another winner. Rich, creamy, the shell underneath is magnificently executed. The toppings are a tart raspberry coulis with fresh fruit and whipped cream. What looks like a rose petal is a crafted white chocolate shard, painted pink, and it's as delicious as it is beautiful. This 1960s looking little triple layer chocolate mousse cake is another winner. I'd love a shirt that looked like this medallion, or maybe even an area rug. It's a clever homage to all things mid-century modern. The flavors are wonderful. Each layer has its distinct profile. We're having such a good time right now and loving these desserts. Finally, a key lime tart that is extraordinary. Key lime pie, one of my favorite desserts to make in our restaurant. This is every bit as authentic as any I've had while in Key West, Florida, where it originated. It's the perfect balance of tart to sweet. The shell is beautifully delicate, and the whipped cream and raspberry, a delight. I know some of you are thinking, raspberry on key lime pie? Well, admittedly, raspberry is a deviation from tradition, but the chef here obviously knew what he was doing and put a new delicious twist on this classic dessert item. It's phenomenal. I love the little green shark fin on top as well. I could eat 100 of these. Okay, I think these are now my new favorite dessert at any Vegas buffet. We began this review asking a simple question. Is Anthony's Prime, all-you-can-eat prime rib and lobster buffet, worth the $100 price of admission? I think we can answer that with a resounding yes. Anthony's Buffet is certainly worth the price of admission, with its all-you-can-eat best lobster tail, superlative prime rib, and dazzling beef Wellington. Not to mention the best buffet desserts in the city. How could one come to any other conclusion? Sadly, yes, the days of basement-priced middle-tier buffets are a thing of the past here in Vegas. But within the new Vegas culture, looking to attract money-is-no-object foodies seeking the very finest available, Anthony's Prime is king. And if this is what you seek, then Anthony's Prime should be at the top of your bucket list. It's become our favorite top-tier buffet. It's the creme de la creme, the top of the heap, a true A-lister. We'll be back in Anthony's soon, very soon. And who knows, maybe you'll see us there. Make sure to tell them, Let's Eat Vegas sent you. I know we're all guilty of watching YouTube videos and not participating. As a reminder, please like, comment, subscribe, or even become a VIP member. It means a lot to us, and it helps us grow and to bring you more reviews. Until we eat again, bon appetit.